But I go out at WrestleMania 10, and I beat you 1, 2, 3, which is what I'm going to do. And you know it, and I know it, and it's only a matter of time. Then that makes me better than you, doesn't it, Bret? It's simple to figure out. You do all that, but I take it one step higher. Because I surpass everything you've done, and I surpass you because I'm going to beat you. Then that makes me better than you. Correct? I think so. And you know what? When you light the rocket on fire and it blasts off at WrestleMania 10 and it soars straight to the top, there's nothing that will ever stop the rocket, brother.
Welcome to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spencer.
I'm Paul.
I'm Landon.
And we are so excited. It is our 10th episode here on Last Match Standing. And thanks to your suggestions, we have a phenomenal match to cover today. But a couple of things we wanted to talk to you about first. First of which is those suggestions. Thank you so much. We're 10 episodes in, and most of these matches have been fan-suggested. And as we keep moving along here on our podcast, they will continue to be fan-suggested matches. So we really appreciate that. If you have a match you want to suggest, please find us on Twitter, follow us, and you can post to us at Last Match Cast. You can also find us on Facebook with the same name, or you can email us at lastmatchstanding@gmail.com. Another thing that I want to mention and that I want to thank guys for is voting on our Ranker page. You can find us ranker.com/lastmatchstanding, because the best part about this podcast is that as we make our list, you guys will make yours as well on Ranker, and they are going to look very different whether we want them to or not, and that's the best part about it.
And they do.
And they do.
And they look very different.
And we are totally cool with it, because those two things are going to factor into determining what will be our last match standing. If you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, we would love if you would rate us and share us. If you're listening on Spotify, the Google Podcast, Play Store, any Stitcher, anywhere else you could possibly be listening to us, we appreciate that. We would love a share or some type of rating or review. We would really, really appreciate that, because your feedback is what's going to make this show better for you guys. One more thing that I wanted to mention before we jump into it is we had a really, really cool opportunity this week where we got to give away some tickets to SmackDown Live in the Baton Rouge area to a lucky listener.
That was just so much fun to be able to interact with you guys. And, if you saw the video, you got to see a little bit of behind the scenes of where we do our work, where we're sitting right now. Got to see the leaderboard, all that fun stuff. And congrats to the winner. We're looking forward to being there ourselves.
Yeah, a big shout out to Pro Wrestling 225, who was able to help get the word out about that contest, especially since they are in the same area as us. It made a lot of sense, and it really worked, and it really helped get the word out for our listeners that would be interested in going to something in the Baton Rouge area. For those of you that are not in the Baton Rouge area, don't you fret, because there will be more giveaways happening sooner rather than later, and they will be open to our entire listening area. So we are super, super excited about that. But again, thank you to PW225, and congratulations to our winner. If you by chance are in the Baton Rouge area and you are planning on going to SmackDown Live, which is August the 27th, we would love to meet you if you'd like. We will be there. Totally find us on Facebook or Twitter or email us, and we'd be happy to meet up with you and chit-chat, and you can tell us how bad our ranking is or whatever you want to do. It'd be a lot of fun. And, one of the cool things about that SmackDown Live is that we will get to see some King of the Ring tournament matches, since this show manifested the return of the King of the Ring just last week.
I was hoping you were going to mention that.
We did it, guys.
Like we review a King of the Ring pay-per-view, and then like the next day they announce the King of the Ring coming back.
You are all welcome. Every single
and
one.
It's going to be really exciting. I mean, we're going to get people like Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable and Buddy Murphy and Ali getting pushes on SmackDown, and so we're going to be able to see those people. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
Oh, I agree.
I'm really looking forward to it. The fact that it is a 16-man tournament. You know, the last few times they've done a King of the Ring over the past decade and a half, they've been 8-man, really like sort of half-assed King of the Ring tournaments. But this is a full 16-man, you know, Raw and SmackDown. It's going to be just a ton of fun, and I'm super, super excited about it.
And having SmackDown versus Raw in the finals is going to be very special.
The way it should be right now,
definitely.
right? The way it should be. So love that a lot. But without further ado, with it being our 10th episode of Last Match Standing, there was only one match that was appropriate.
Welcome, everyone, to New York City, Madison Square Garden, WrestleMania 10.
It is Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, March 20th, 1994, from, you guessed it, Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Thanks to everyone who voted on this match. You knew it was going to be our 10th episode. You knew this was one of our favorite matches. It's one of yours, too. It's probably the greatest opening match in WrestleMania history.
Arguably,
it's definitely arguable, but it's. I would argue for this one.
I'd love to hear the argument against it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it is almost. There are more people that think it is the greatest opening contest in WrestleMania history than there are that are not, you know, in belief of that. So, absolutely agree. This is one that we are just so ready for. This was one that, you know, when you saw that we were doing this show, when we knew that we were doing this show, we knew this was one of the matches that was going to be on the list, and we're so excited about it.
I mean, to be fair, this is no Godfather and D'Lo Brown versus Big Boss Man and Bull Buchanan, but I think it's pretty good.
I mean, listen, on a card that features Doink and Dink, the fact that this was able to stand out is a testament to how great it is.
And on a card that features the final in-ring performance of the Macho Man Randy Savage in WWF, in a less than stellar match.
I liked it.
But you're right. I mean, it's WrestleMania 10, which is remembered by a lot of people in a lot of different ways. But the two biggest memories that I think people take from WrestleMania 10, one of them is Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon in the ladder match. The other is this Bret Hart, Owen Hart match.
How about the great nap you get whenever Yokozuna and Lex Luger are hugging each other for 20 minutes?
Hey, Lex body slams Yoko in that match.
That was one good spot.
He was going to be the next guy, damn it. It was going to happen.
WrestleMania 10 was iconic for a lot of different reasons. But this match that we're going to be reviewing today, does get overshadowed a lot by the ladder match.
Which is a shame because I think this is a much better match than the ladder match.
I agree.
Well, I think the reason why the ladder match gets so much love is because it's a ceiling breaker.
Yeah, it's a spectacle. It's a great spectacle.
You know, so you can argue back and forth over which one of these matches is better, and the fact is we will probably review both of these matches
without a doubt
on our show, and they'll be in the top 100. But it kind of goes into the thing, you know, a lot of what we've talked about on the show before is how these first big monumental moments, how important they are to the business. And the ladder match was important because it opened up a whole nother side that wasn't really visited too frequently, particularly by the WWF.
It really did. And, we won't go too much into that match, but, no. I mean, you did get to see some things from Shawn Michaels. You know, there's an argument, right? Would we have had HBK Shawn Michaels, the main event, Mr. WrestleMania, were it not for that match?
Right.
Maybe not.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
No, I don't think so.
But on a night where you make a guy a star in Shawn Michaels, right? And honestly, you know, Shawn Michaels was kind of building up towards that moment. This other match, you build a star again. I mean, and it's the first one on the card, and Owen Hart, Bret Hart. I mean, how relatable is this story? Like, this rivalry writes itself.
Well, as a younger brother, I relate so much to Owen Hart.
As an older brother, I can relate to Bret Hart seeing the younger kids come up and wanting to give them an opportunity, but wanting them to understand and to be groomed first and to like know that they need to be ready. And so you're coming from this place that is so misunderstood. And that's where Owen Hart was, right? Owen Hart was pissed about being kept in the shadows. Owen Hart was ready. He felt like he was better. He was the man, and it was his time. And Bret kept getting opportunity after opportunity. And I feel like that is the most relatable story that you can possibly tell.
Owen's one of the most relatable heels we've seen, like, at this point in the WWF. He's so relatable because he's just, when you watch the promo package, every time that Owen had some kind of mishap happen to him, he has to watch Bret like be successful, and like they have their traditional Survivor Series match where it's Bret, Owen, Bruce, and Keith Hart, and like the only person that gets eliminated is Owen, and he's just frustrated because he was trying to make a tag out when he got eliminated. If Bret had just been there for him, at least this is like from Owen's perspective. If Bret had been there for me, I would not have been eliminated from that match.
Oh, every promo that Owen cuts in build up to this match was an absolute shoot. It's that feeling, it's a true feeling that he had, that he felt he was ready and he wasn't being given the opportunity. And he was given an opportunity at WrestleMania 10.
Well, just look at WrestleMania 10. Sorry, Paul. Just look at WrestleMania 10. You know, you talk about how Bret keeps getting opportunity after opportunity and Owen is standing in his shadow. But WrestleMania 10 is a microcosm of that because not only does Bret face Owen in the opening contest, but Bret has a WWF Championship match waiting for him at the end of the night.
Well, assuming that Lex doesn't beat Yokozuna first.
Well, even so, Bret was set to face the winner regardless of who it was.
That's true.
So, you know, it just kind of speaks to how right it could have seen that Owen was.
And I find it baffling that, and I don't know if you guys knew this, but whenever this match was pitched to Vince McMahon, Vince didn't buy into it.
No, because he didn't buy into Owen.
Well, he didn't buy into the brother versus brother. He didn't get it. He was like, brothers don't fight. It's like, what?
Says the only child.
Do you not have, like, he must have been, because that's all brothers do.
It's like the foundation of being just a sibling in general, I think, but particularly two brothers.
And this match takes off, and the rivalry is just so heated, and the fans are so behind it. I mean, he had to see.
Well, everyone had their pick over which brother was better.
Sure.
Right? And so, I mean, you can just imagine. You can imagine two brothers who are watching this Bret and Owen rivalry, you know, fight out, and you can see two brothers just picking their sides and them fighting about it, just watching the events take place. And when you can have something like that in a rivalry where it's so easy and it's so relatable, it's so compelling. It's such compelling television, and it will have your eyes glued on the contest, and it automatically makes it easier on those superstars competing because the story is already one that the fans are invested in.
And how about the stage that they're on, right? WrestleMania,
right. Oh, yeah. Doesn't get
the
any
biggest
bigger.
event of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Madison Square Garden,
10
the home
years,
of the first WrestleMania.
Exactly, 10 years in the making. WrestleMania 10, you know, this is such a big deal. You know, the 10th anniversary of WrestleMania. It's in Madison Square Garden. However, I would like to say that the opening promo package, just, you know, that says 10 years in the making, it's a little bit in memoriam for me.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it looks like. Like, oh, WrestleMania has moved on to a different, you know, better place.
We briefly touched on that before we started. I said, it feels like we're watching a eulogy.
A little bit.
And then it jumps into Linda McMahon's music, and I'm like, yeah, here we go, WrestleMania.
1994.
Oh yeah, so if anybody else had the WrestleMania gold box,
So good.
when I was a kid, that's all I
good.
watched. I would always have some WrestleMania on, and that music was the background music for every
everyone.
DVD.
You know, they only used it from like 94 to like 98, and they stopped using it. They used it for 4 years.
Well, no, I think they used it like as far back as WrestleMania 1.
No, WrestleMania 1, 2, and 3 had their own theme.
Oh.
And then 4 through 8 had this really, really awesome like rock and roll theme. And then we got like the Linda music from like 9 through, I think, 9 through, I want to say 14. I think 14 was the last one that used it.
You know, one of the things that we've set up for you guys listening is that email address, so you can email us, you know, mistakes that we make, you know, lastmatchstanding@gmail.com. But the reality is that if you're listening and you say, "Oh, Landon or Spencer, you definitely were wrong about that," Paul corrects us on the spot, so
Yeah,
it's
he kinda
totally fine.
Sorry, I'm a wrestling nerd.
No, we love it. That's totally the best role. I love that so much. But yeah, this is the night where it's 10 years in the making. America the Beautiful is performed by, you guessed it, Little Richard.
How about it?
How about it, Little Richard?
Or as Vince calls him, Lil Richard.
Oh, I mean the choice of having Little Richard in 1994 screams Vince McMahon.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the fans loved it. He got a huge pop.
and Vince talked it up. He just,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, before, during, and after, he thought it was the best.
The original king of rock and roll, Lil Richard.
How about the X that opens up every time somebody
I do
comes
love
out?
that.
I was gonna save this for like when we talked about
Oh,
their
sorry.
entrances. No, you're good. But I love the X on the stage. First of all, Madison Square Garden is different than any other arena that wrestling is in, particularly in the WWE, WWF, because they're forced to use that smaller stage.
Yeah.
Where it's not really a stage; it's just a door and a ramp.
What I love about it is, though, like much like when we talked about Cactus Jack and Triple H, they don't sacrifice any seats for a big elaborate stage. They do a very, very scaled back set. And the set is just the doors.
That's true. It's interesting to note that this is our second match from Madison Square Garden on the list.
Not surprised. 2 out of 10. I'm sure we'll have some more as we go
yeah.
along.
I'm sure.
But
Yeah.
it's
So
just, because they've done SummerSlam here a few times, they've done Survivor Series
Yeah.
here, but every time they do a very scaled back set. Survivor Series 2002 has my favorite set, the video doors.
Oh
They
my
opened
gosh,
up.
it's so
Those were
good.
really cool.
WrestleMania 20, 10 years after this, they actually don't come out that way.
No, they did it.
They do actually have a stage, but WrestleMania 20 in the background, you can see those doors because it displays the matches as it goes, which is really,
yes,
really
I
cool.
love that so
Yeah, it's
much.
so
And it's
good.
on the hard camera. It's like, oof.
Right, exactly. But WrestleMania 10, not only do they have the gold X that comes apart as the doors open, right? But there's also the rails are gold, which is great. Instead of just like the silver barricade,
Yeah.
like
and
they're
the
gold.
ropes
And
are
the
black and
rope.
gold, and they look
Yes.
so great.
It's gold, black, gold.
Why have we never had that set up before?
I love it so
And
so
since,
much.
like I wanted that. I want that to come back.
Well, I mean, at Caesar's Palace, they had gold ropes, but it was outside in a parking lot, so it just didn't have the...
Right. Yeah. Ooh,
Not-
WrestleMania 9.
Ooh.
Caesar's Palace!
So WrestleMania 9, JR's debut at the company
In a toga.
in a toga.
He
Got hazed a little bit.
He was so pissed off.
We had an interesting thing to note before we really jump into WrestleMania 10 in this match. Is WrestleMania? Do you all remember the main event of WrestleMania 9?
Yep.
What was it, Paul?
Well, it was Bret Hart versus Yokozuna in a surprisingly good outing, which ended a little bit earlier than it was supposed to.
But
What-
it was Bret Hart versus Yokozuna.
Yes.
What's the main event of WrestleMania 10?
That would be Bret Hart versus Yokozuna.
Only
Right.
this time we don't have Hogan coming out and stealing the belt
Right.
because he's no longer with the company.
It's just interesting to me, and obviously it wasn't known at the time that Bret Hart and Yokozuna would main event WrestleMania 10. It was kind of up in the air who was going to be in the main event based on the way that they built the show.
Could you imagine if the main event had been Bret Hart versus Lex Luger?
That would have been fun to watch.
It actually would have been because like just knowing what Bret was able to do with guys like Tom McGee, and like I said this, I'm probably the only person you're going to hear in a podcast that likes Lex Luger. He could have had a really good match with Lex.
I agree. I think Bret is the kind of person who could pull a match out of Lex
Like I
Luger.
said, he pulled out a match that made Vince McMahon think Tom McGee was the next Hulk Hogan. So I'm pretty sure he could have made Lex look like a 5-star player.
But we're here to talk about the match that he pulled out of Owen.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the match that Owen pulled out of him. Thank you very much.
I think that's a fair statement.
Did you not listen to King on commentary? Owen taught Bret everything that Bret knows. Owen invented the sharpshooter and taught it to his older brother, Bret.
So the first time I watched WrestleMania 10, I 1,000% believed that. I totally bought it. I was
still-
like, that's how well Owen performed in this match. I was like, damn, maybe Owen taught Bret everything he knows.
right.
I still
Seriously.
Maybe Owen is better.
I still subscribe to that. I honestly believe that Owen Hart invented the sharpshooter and taught it to his older brother.
That would be a twist.
I know.
I love that a lot. And I want you guys to get into the specifics of the build. If if you have some things to add, but I just wanted to touch a couple of things. One of them is I just love that the very first line in the promo that airs right before the match on WrestleMania 10, the first phrase is "Brothers Divided." Brothers Divided.
Oh yeah, that sums up not just this match but their entire rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely. And they kind of start at where the peak of this rivalry sort of begins, and that's at Survivor Series.
Yeah, I mentioned it briefly earlier, but at Survivor Series we had the Hart family, because it was Owen, Bret, Keith, and Bruce against Jerry Lawler's, like, the Royal team.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost a clean sweep. The only person eliminated was Owen Hart. And but they came back at the end of the ring. He comes back in with everybody. But what I love about this match is Bret doesn't wear his usual uniform. He wears a traditional singlet, but he wears a pink one where the other three brothers all wear black. So basically, Owens wears what he normally wears. Bruce and Keith wear very similar to Owen, but Bret is wearing a pink singlet. I'm like, okay, he still has to stand out.
Which helps tell the story that they're about to build.
It does, yeah.
True. Well, I mean, this is King of the Ring, Bret Hart, who is at this point a 2-time WWF champion. So he is like the stalwart.
So, do you know the behind-the-scenes reason where this feud came from?
Well, to be honest, before this point, Owen was not viewed as a major player. He was kind of brought in because he could have good matches with people. Like, notoriously before this, he had a match at WrestleMania 5 against Mr. Perfect as the Blue Blazer, but Vince just didn't see money in him, so he went to Japan, had good matches in Japan. He had a cup of coffee in WCW before he came back, and they basically hired him. Well, you're Bret's brother. We like Bret. We want to keep Bret around. But, like, he was eyeing becoming a fireman because he just didn't think he was going to be able to make it in the league.
Wow.
And Bret heavily politicked to get, like, no, trust me, Owen is really good. Like Bret has said a million times, he actually believes that Owen was actually a better wrestler than him, but he just didn't take it as seriously as Bret did. But when you just look at Owen's career, like, he could have a technical wrestling match, but he could also do springboards on high flying. So he's a hybrid of the European and the Japanese style, and that, I think, is why he's so fondly remembered. That and his, like, all the stories of, like, the ribs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God, it must have been so much fun to be in that locker room.
So it was time for Owen Hart at this point. It was time for him to come through. But this rivalry actually did not come about because someone in the back saw something in Owen and decided it was time. So actually, it was Bruce Hart. Bruce Hart came up with the idea of brother turning on brother, and he was like, you know what? I'm looking for a way to really break out in this business. No one really knows the name Bruce Hart. Everyone knows Bret Hart. So how can I get myself over? So he pitched this idea. And Bret said, well, if I'm going to do this angle, I want to do it with Owen. So thanks for the idea. And so, like I was talking about before, Vince didn't see the value in it. But in November 1993, Bret, Owen, Bruce, Keith are set to face off against Shawn Michaels and his team over at Survivor Series.
Oh, it was Shawn Michaels, wasn't it?
It was Shawn Michaels' Survivor Series
next
team.
year, 94 is against King. I'm
Whoa. Landon just corrected Paul.
Yeah.
It's how the tables have turned.
So they're building the match, right? They're backstage. They're getting it all together, or maybe this is in the ring at some point before the match, just trying to piece it together. And Bret tells Bruce the direction the match is going to go. And he's just like, look, we're setting up a feud with Owen. Pat Patterson comes out, and he's just like, this is the direction we want to go through. And Bruce, after hearing this, essentially ignores him. And he's insisting on building the match around himself. And Bret and Bruce get into a shouting match in front of everybody backstage or, in the ring before anybody gets there. And at this point, Shawn Michaels jumps in. And he's like, look, dude, if my brother was a world champion and the best in the business, I'd quit fucking arguing with him and listen to him. And at that point, Bruce shuts up, and they build the match so that we get Bret and Owen. I had no idea before I did my research for this podcast that there was so much personal animosity between the Hart family about what was going on.
That is awesome.
The stories you hear,
awesome story.
The stories you hear behind the scenes is that once Bret pretty much assumed as a major player, the entire family was pressuring him. Oh, well, get your brother-in-law a job. Get your brothers a job.
Yeah.
You got Owen a job. You got Jim. You got Davey Boy a job. Why don't you get your brother a job? Like, there was so much pressure, and like he basically, like, they alienated him for years. I honestly believe that's why the man had a stroke, because he was under so much pressure from his family to, quote, do the right thing.
Well, the match at Survivor Series is good.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
It's the Hart brothers, which I don't know at this point if we've ever seen them in a match together, all four of them. And they eliminate Michael's partners. And while fighting HBK, Owen crashes into Bret, who was walking on the ring apron, and the distraction allows Michaels to eliminate Owen from the match, and thus this feud is born.
Owen blamed his brother. But we get these great promos on Superstars where Owen is just eviscerating Bret, just tearing him down. And then it's weird because if you watch the promo, it's like, oh, yeah, my brother, Bret, he's terrible. I'm way better. He's so selfish. He won't let anybody else. And the next one is like, oh, man, my brother Owen, he gets a little hot-headed. I don't want to fight my brother. And the next one is, oh, we're back together again. We're never going to fight each other. I don't want to know who the better man is because, quite frankly, I'm afraid to find out who the better man is. And then, like, the next thing is just Owen betrays him.
Oh, I think it's such a fascinating. I actually really love how fascinating those promos are, because Owen is, playing the scrappy young brother that's set to prove himself.
Yeah.
Where Bret's like, pat on the head, like, we're good. Like,
it's like, I don't want to fight you.
I don't want
to fight you. I don't want to know who the better man is.
Oh, and Owen starts using the sharpshooter. He starts wearing the sunglasses.
Yep.
It's such a, well, you could argue, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. But no, he's digging at Bret. He's like, let me show you. You think this is what's cool. You think this is how to get to the top. I am what's cool. I am the next big thing.
I just love that going into, they had a match at the Royal Rumble against the Quebecers, and everything seemed to be, okay, we're going to do this. They lose the match. And then Owen just kicks Bret's leg. He heard Bret kayfabe enters his leg in the match when he hits the guardrail. So he just attacks the leg, and he goes to the back while Bret is being helped out from the arena, and he just cuts a scathing promo about, Bret, you're so selfish. You won't let anyone else have the spotlight with you. That's why you're sitting there in a heap, and that's why I kicked your leg out of your leg.
Well, okay, so I love that the way that this kicks off is focused on the leg.
Yes.
Because the leg plays an extremely important role in this match.
Oh, yeah.
I love that, and that's the first thing I thought about when it comes up in the actual match, is how that leg is really a callback to the rivalry so far, and I think that's really, really great. But the fact that basically, Bret and Owen, they tease this rivalry, and then they get back together only to have it all come crashing down at the Royal Rumble to set up this WrestleMania match. I mean, it's just played so perfectly, I think, and it's set up, and people are so excited about it. I mean, you listen to the crowd in Madison Square Garden; they are hype.
They're to attend the entire
for this match. They are hype for it, right? And it's just Bret Hitman Hart. Is he going to stay the man? Is he going to prove that he is better than his brother, or is the Rocket Owen Hart? Is he going to finally step out of Bret Hart's shadow?
I just gotta say, Jerry Lawler has a field day in this match.
Oh man!
So yeah, I guess let me set the stage for you, just so you can keep in mind where we are. Remember the gold just around everywhere because it's phenomenal. But we've got Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler on commentary, Earl Hebner as the referee. Who else would it be? And as the entrances come out, as the guys come out to share their entrance, Bill Dunn is the ring announcer, which makes me ask, where is Fink? Well, we find out where Fink is just moments after the
next match,
because we get to see Fink with a toupee.
A very, very convincing toupee. And I also say that if this is your first experience of WrestleMania and you don't know that Fink is bald, it doesn't help that the commentators, oh, that looks really good. Quite frankly, yeah, I believe that's his real hair.
Well, because they say right before he comes out, oh, and wearing one of our toupees sponsored by Hair Care for Men is
no.
Howard Finkel.
Oh no!
If they did not say that, I'm pretty sure anybody who their first experience would believe, wow, Fink's hair looks great.
Yeah, Fink's got a great head of hair.
It's like 3 years later, oh, he's bald now.
But yeah, so Bill Dunn is the ring announcer for the entrances, and Owen comes out first.
Oh, God. Owen's theme.
How much do you love Owen's theme?
Oh, God. I want like a 10-hour loop of that.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
I do. I love this theme, but I really love later when he uses "Enough is enough, and it's time for a change." Yes, so good.
Do you think that theme would have been better for this match?
No.
I mean, it definitely is still that story.
Yeah.
That theme is 298. This is very 94.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the theme in the moment I think is perfect. But if this rivalry happens 4 years later, I think that song is really, really great just for this.
Funny you mentioned that. My understanding, it was supposed to happen.
Really?
Yeah, like the Owen Hart was supposed to get like the game gimmick. That was meant for Owen Hart because he was going to feud with Bret. But Montreal happened, so. Yeah.
And the rest, as they say, is history. Yeah. So Owen Hart comes out, and like we talked about earlier, he's wearing the glasses, right? Like he's got the glasses on. He's definitely doing his best Bret Hart.
Oh my God!
And one of the best things is as he's walking up the ramp, as Owen Hart is walking up the ramp, you see him talk to the camera, and he just says it into the camera. He says, "I'm the best there is, the best there was, and tonight we're gonna find out who really is the best there ever will be."
Love that so much. And he just climbs in the ring and he just destroys the glasses and just throws them into the crowd. I'm like, he's such a heel.
Every step that he takes, every breath that he takes, everything he does from the second he walks out from the X has a purpose.
Oh, God. And the boos. He's got so much heat. Oh, it's so good.
But you're right. He's on a mission, and everything he does furthers the story that he is out to destroy his own brother, right, and prove how much better he is. Bret comes out next, of course, and one of my favorite things about Bret Hart's entrance, it's very, Bret Hart, and it makes a lot of sense, but he takes his glasses off, and he gives them to a kid in the front row. And
the kid is like so nervous, he keeps looking away.
Right, and you hear King on commentary, as soon as he gives the glasses to the kid, he goes, "That's sickening, isn't it?" Like, it's just sickening that he gives the glasses to the kid.
But he notices the kid keeps hiding his, that kid must be an Owen Hart fan.
Yeah.
He stuck his tongue out at Bret.
King is just totally absurd in this match.
I
love it so
King
much.
at his best and Vince at his Vince.
Okay,
Oh, God.
I will go ahead and say this is no secret, and if you know me at all, you know that this is true. I cannot stand Vince McMahon on commentary.
Well, quite frankly, I think those opinions do not result in the views of the Last Match Any podcast, but only of one man named Spencer.
And the thing is like Vince's voice is iconic, and what a ride, like the whole thing. Like I love that is attached to memories and moments.
Oh, the moment of the boyhood dream has come true
Right.
for Shawn Michaels. That was probably Vince's best moment on commentary.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed. But just as standard, just general thoughts about Vince McMahon on commentary makes me
Subpar.
want to rip my ears off.
Well, I think Vince does a lot better when he's with JR, because JR will call the match and Vince will just kind of be there to.
Vince cannot carry it. You're absolutely right.
No, he can't do it. I love Vince, but he needs a play-by-play so he can basically tell his stories and go, oh, man, that was unbelievable. What a maneuver. But you need somebody there to call the match.
What's the maneuver?
Can you tell me?
You need somebody like Jim Ross who will say, for instance, at one point in this match, we get a beautiful German suplex, and he goes, what a maneuver. I'm like, you need JR saying, and a German suplex with a bridge pin, and you need to hear that either right before or right after.
So, how does this match start, Spencer?
So, there's been a general theme so far, 9 matches into this podcast, that every match has started fast. And this match, a little different, actually. It's
Yeah.
our first kind of change of pace because this is a match where Owen and Bret want to wrestle.
Exactly. And I love that this match starts with lockups.
Oh, my gosh. But it is the best start ever because they do a quick... They do a quick, collar and elbow tie up right there, just in the center of the ring. They grapple for just a second. I mean, like a second, like not long at all. And then there's a clean break very quickly, and then instantly, Owen turns his back to Bret and taunts and raises his arms. Woo!
I'm the best. I'm the best.
It was so great. I mean, Owen is in it. He knows this is his moment. He knows this is his chance to shine, and he's trying to show you that he belongs there, and it's so great.
It's really, really good. And so I love, we talk about how Owen is in his entrance is such a heel and he's getting all this heat, but it's not 5 seconds into the match when he doesn't just totally, really go full healing and get those boos from the crowd, and I love it so much.
Like just going forward with Owen Hart, like that's like a signature of him. Like he gets the tiniest victory and he's jumping for joy. And it's just the best thing ever.
The thing about Owen Hart is he will take whatever opportunity you give him, and he will squeeze everything out of it. So, for instance, the Slammies. When Owen Hart won the Slammies.
No, he didn't win the Slammy. He was presenting the Slammy, and he just kept it. No, he did get a Slammy for, I think, Match of the Year. In 96, him and Bret won Match of the Year for their SummerSlam cage match, which we will definitely talk about at some point. And then the same night, he's supposed to present the best bow tie. And so he walks up, and it's just like, give him the envelope, and he just goes, I did it again! Woo! I did it! And you hear Ty go, no, Owen, you're presenting it. Oh, okay. And then Ty walks away. Woo! I did it again! Bulldog, you may have 2 titles, but you don't have 2 Slammies.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
What a character. Oh, man.
the
Owen
best
Hart.
thing
It is
ever.
the best. So the match starts with Owen just being a total ham. Like it's just that's what he's being. He is just absolutely like playing to the crowd. But it's a series of wrestling holds very early on. It's these grapples, it's these tie-ups until Owen strikes first.
Oh, yes, he does.
He does. Owen strikes first, and he slaps Bret across the face after a series of sort of reversals back and forth
the
wrestling.
fireman carry, head scissors, like they're getting reverses here and there. But what I love is like Owen kips up out of a head scissors, and then he once again goes, woo, woo.
And you can tell just by the series of exchanges, this is the match they had in their basement 1,000 times.
Oh my gosh, that's all I was thinking the whole time.
Like they shove each other. Owen slaps the bejesus out of Bret, and then he immediately goes into the corner and gets in the rope.
Right, runs and hides.
He runs away and gets in the ropes, and then Arn's like, no, you got to break. He's in the ropes.
Well, but there are a couple of moments.
Points and laughs at him.
Well, and there are a couple of moments where Bret will hit Owen out to the outside, and a lot of times in matches, you see this used as a commercial break or as a breather, But every single time they went to the outside in this match, there was a reason for it.
Yeah.
And it added to the story.
I completely agree. Whether it was Owen retreating, from Bret, or whether it was the knee that comes in later.
Exactly.
It absolutely played a role in it, and that's part of why this match is so good.
And Owen working the knee in this match is so well done, and it tells the story so well because, as we talked about before, Bret has to wrestle again.
Yes, he does.
Later
he has
in the
to
night.
wrestle the main event.
King even says at one point in the match, Bret should really just give up right now if he knows what's good for him. He's got another match.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to argue with him.
It really is. But what I love is Owen tries to out-wrestle Bret, and they do a very good job with this. He's just using very, very basic takedowns, but Bret is like, no, at this point, he's the technician. You're not going to out-wrestle Bret. So anytime he finds a reversal, Owen finds a clever way to either get out of it or break the hold. But he gets this really, really beautiful waist lock, and then much like we saw with Kurt and Shane McMahon, Bret can't break the waist lock, so he runs around the ring and uses the momentum to throw Owen through the ropes. Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I definitely caught that and immediately thought of Shane doing that, or
Yeah.
with Kurt doing whatever it was, because that was the first time we had seen it, and we actually mentioned that on the podcast last week. But Bret gets his revenge from the slap pretty quickly after Owen slaps him, because Bret slaps Owen a little bit later and turns the slap into a schoolboy.
Oh, no.
Which is
it's
just
the perfect slap, and Owen's body just turns with it so well, almost like a complete 180 degrees.
Right.
And it's perfect setup for schoolboy.
yeah.
And as I was going, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I guess Bret is the better technical wrestler. And then as soon as I'm done saying that on commentary, Vince goes, well, at this point, King, you must have to grant that the better wrestler, at least from a technical standpoint, is Bret the Hitman Hart. And then King just starts screaming, no, he's not. Owen told him everything he knows.
Yeah, I mean, the commentary team is basically going back and forth, the whole time on.
It's
on
not like an
Bret
old
Hart.
married couple, but I love it.
Speaking of old married couples.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Jerry the King Lawler is just brutal to Stu and Helen Hart in this match.
And I love that, because you know who else was extremely brutal to Stu and Helen Hart back in the day before King was there? Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, you are
God.
absolutely right.
And so it's such a great callback to that.
Yeah.
And I know Heenan at this point, was he with WCW
Yeah, he's
by
at
then?
WCW, yeah.
But they kind of knew the foundation that he laid there. And I mean, King had to go there.
He did. And he says all sorts of things through the match. But one of the things that he says that just sticks out and just makes me laugh every time I hear it. And I don't even know what the setup was for the joke. Like Stu and Helen, Vince said that they had said something, maybe they weren't picking sides or whatever it may have been. And King says, I wouldn't believe that if their tongues were notarized.
Yeah, they're both compulsive liars.
Yeah, like
My favorite one is Vince kind of says it's probably a good thing quite frankly, that Stu and Helen aren't here to see their two children fight. And then King says, I would have loved to have seen Stu in his orthopedic tuxedo.
Oh no, the best one for me was oh man, they're gonna have to kickstart Helen's pacemaker right now.
it's really too much. So what we get out of this match is we start to get a bit of a theme to where these guys are wrestling, but then Owen will be the one that gets a little bit more physical to take advantage.
He gets a little bit physical, or when he starts getting the better of Bret. And then King implies that if they were to go based on points, that Bret was way ahead Owen was way ahead of Bret, which I rewatched it. No, he's not.
Right,
At that
right.
point, Owen's gotten like one takedown. Bret's gotten 6.
And Owen is pulling moves out of Bret that we don't see in an average Bret Hart match.
It's rare.
How about the beautiful crucifix pin?
Love
My God! Then he clotheslines Owen to the top rope, and then he does a tope. When have you ever seen Bret Hart do a tope?
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because he does this move, and it's something that we rarely see him do, and so it's kind of telling the story. It's like, what does Bret have to do to beat his brother, and what is he willing to put his body through to beat his brother right before a championship match? Because as soon as he lands that tope, he sells the knee.
Oh, he hits the guardrail and then starts. Yeah, he sells that knee, and we got our first sighting of Vlad the Superfan. He's wearing a beautiful white tuxedo with. There's 2 other men with him, and they each have a pink letter on their chest. He's wearing the F for the WWF. It's beautiful.
3 guys fully decked out in tuxedos with the white shirt spray painted with a pink WWF.
It's beautiful. It's so 1994.
You can catch us wearing the exact thing at SmackDown Live Tuesday, August 27th. But I do want to get to the knee. But right before the tope and Bret Hart kind of sort of changing the way this match looks, these guys just go back and forth. Owen slams Bret Hart into the ring post, and then he does a gorgeous belly to belly once they're back into the ring. But then they do a series of reversals.
Oh yeah, we just get Bret goes to do a vertical suplex. Owen reverses it. He goes to do a vertical suplex. Then Bret reverses that into a German suplex.
One of the most beautiful German suplexes
with the bridge.
I think I've ever
it's
seen.
Really, I mean, it's picture perfect. And then not long after that, we get the pile driver from Owen Hart.
Okay, so I have a story to tell about this.
Uh-oh.
So now this is 94. At the Royal Rumble 94, Undertaker loses a casket match to Yokozuna, and then he's beaten down by all the heels in the company, and he does not return until SummerSlam that year. So we've got 8 months with no dead man.
Is that the one where Undertaker like shows up on the video screen?
He does show up on the video screen in the casket,
Yeah.
and then he rises from the grave.
Yes,
And
okay.
it's
I thought that was that one.
And
So
it's-
good.
and, fun fact, that's actually Marty Jannetty who's on the wires being risen up, and I'm pretty sure he's
That
smiling.
sums up his career,
I'm
doesn't
pretty sure he's smiling the whole time, but that's
it? Anyway, continue. Apologies.
so. We get the spot where they're shot into the ropes, go for a tilt-a-whirl. Owen picks up Bret and does a tombstone. Immediately hits the top rope and goes for a diving headbutt, but he misses. That was the finishing sequence for the Dynamite Kid, who would have been like not a father figure, but definitely like a mentor to Owen, despite the fact that he was kind of a miserable human being behind the scenes. But as far as like wrestlers loved him because he was this amazing pound for pound wrestler. Who he was behind the scenes is a different story.
Wow. No, I had no idea.
That's
Yes.
awesome. That is
So-
awesome, yeah.
So in this match where Owen Hart knows that this is the match he's been waiting his whole life for, this is his calling card. This is him. This is Owen Hart has made it. He decided he wanted to throw in something for his mentor.
Yeah, he did tribute to Dynamite Kid. And
How
he knew,
cool is
And
that?
he knew
Yeah.
he wouldn't get in trouble because Undertaker's not in the card.
Wow.
That and Vince's own commentary. What's he going to do? Scream at him in Gorilla?
Well, yeah, we do see the beautiful tombstone, but we also see probably the most beautiful pile driver.
Oh, yeah.
Just a straight up pile driver
Yeah.
few men
Bret
can
gets one in,
deliver
too.
a pile driver like Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Right. And not only do these guys reverse each other really well, and it's just so in sync, and like Lane had said, like it looks like they have done this a million times in their basement or in the dungeon, right?
They probably have.
And I'm sure they have, but the moves themselves are so crisp. Bret does a Russian leg sweep. When was the last time you were just in awe over a Russian leg sweep? But
No.
Bret does one, and I'm just like, my mouth is wide open. And I'm like, this is wrestling.
Well, we get Bret's kind of sequence. Inverted atomic drop, clothesline, Russian leg sweep, backbreaker, and then he climbs onto the second rope, which is known as Bret's rope, the most dangerous rope, and does the diving elbow.
And it looks beautiful.
It is
does.
beautiful.
It does.
So crisp.
And I wanted to lead us back up into the tope over the top rope, but the moment right before that leads us to that is both men get their first attempts at the sharpshooter, and they're both reversed.
But I'd like to point out that Owen goes for it first.
Yep, he sure does. Owen goes for it first.
Then Bret punches him, rolls into his own attempt at the sharpshooter, but Owen immediately gets the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and one of the things that I really liked is that Owen goes for the sharpshooter first, and Bret punches his way out of it.
Yep.
You can't really call that a counter, right? It's just he fought physically his way out of it. When Bret gets Owen in the sharpshooter, Owen finds a way to counter it with a roll, which I felt kind of helped tell that story that King was trying to tell,
Yeah.
that Owen is the one who came up with this move. Owen taught Bret everything he knows, and I bought into it because of these little things that Owen was able to do.
There's a great sequence where Owen is backing off in the corner, and he goes for a low blow, but Bret grabs his leg to stop the low blow. I'm like, oh, he knows what he's going to do. But then Owen immediately gets an enziguri.
Oh, man.
Well, and just remember that, because that kind of pops up a little bit later, and we'll go there. But Bret hits the tope over the top rope, and then the knee is hurt, which is the throwback to the Rumble, right, where Owen took the leg out of the leg of Bret Hart, and then the match changes completely.
Owen smells blood in the water.
He smells blood in the water, and no longer is it a wrestling contest. Now Owen is taking Bret Hart's knee and throwing it around the post three different times.
Yeah, he hits him post 3 times. He does multiple dragon screws. He puts him in the Indian Deathlock. And it's funny because Vince and King are both like, I'm not sure what move this is, but we've never seen that one in the World Wrestling Federation before. I'm like, motherfucker, Harley Race did it a year earlier.
Wait, was this not the figure 4?
No, he transitions into the figure 4, but he does the Indian Deathlock first.
Oh, I totally missed that.
Mhm.
So I really liked the figure 4 segment.
Oh, I did too. So I want to point out that of the 10 matches reviewed, only 2 of them did not feature the figure 4 leg lock.
Wow.
That's fascinating, considering none of them have Ric Flair.
It's an iconic move.
It is. I mean, it really, really is. But King says something right here in this moment that I just love. He says, the smartest thing Bret could do right now is give up so he can have a chance in the title match. And just offhand, it sounds like, King's trying to take a dig at Bret and say, oh, Owen's better, like he should just give up now. But when you really think about it, it kind of makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Like Bret has a world championship match later in the night. It would kind of make sense if he went ahead and ended this thing.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to compete again in like less than an hour. So you might want to just phone it in. But what I love about this is he's in the figure 4. He rolls to the ropes. Oh, no, he rolls it over, and then Owen continues to roll to get into the ropes because he knows how to reverse the figure 4. Very, very smart. And
the chicken's way out.
What I love is you pointed this out when we watched the match. When he puts Bret in the figure 4, Bret starts. It looks like he's tapping out, and I told you, I said, nah. In America, we didn't get tap out victories until 1996.
That's interesting. So, what is that story? How do we get tap outs?
Well, when Taz went to Japan and he went and actually trained in actual judokan dojos, and in judo, when you put somebody into a hold, most of them are chokeholds, so you can't verbally or nod, so you just tap out. So when he came back, he broke his neck in 95, and when he came back, he figured, well, wouldn't it look cool if I just started choking everybody out and they started tapping? And then it just stuck. And then then a year after that, whenever Ken Shamrock shows up, he's like, well, in UFC, whenever I would submit guys, they tapped. So it's that's just how it happened. It started in ECW, and then it went to WWF, and then WCW eventually started doing it too.
Right. So this is 94. You see Bret tapping the mat in frustration.
Yeah, exactly.
And a fan that watches that now will say, "Oh, well, what are you doing, ref? He just tapped."
Yeah.
But that actually wasn't a thing.
No.
Well, and I love that we're sharing that, because just think about people tapping out now. When I think of some of my favorite just WrestleMania moments, I think of guys tapping out. Right? I think of Triple H tapping out to Chris Benoit at WrestleMania 20.
That's the first one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, that's the first one that comes to me. And then I think of Batista tapping out to Daniel Bryan at WresleMania 30. Those are, and I also think of Shawn Michaels tapping out to Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21.
Sorry for all these spoilers.
Yeah, these are clearly matches that we're probably
Thanks,
never going
Spencer.
to.
My bad.
It's not like we're going to cover those matches at any point.
Sorry, if you haven't seen them in 15 years, I don't know what to tell you. But there's actually, because we get to that tap out, because Bret taps, quote unquote, when he's beating the mat in frustration, when he's in the sharpshooter that Owen gives him. But right before that, Bret goes on a series of beautiful, beautiful moves.
Oh, yes.
Where he hits an enziguri. He whips Owen into the turnbuckle where Owen goes chest first.
Owen.
And I just think his chest is going to cave in.
Oh, yeah, he takes the sternum spot. I'm like, oh, and then Bret hits him with a bulldog. And
One of the most beautiful bulldogs I have ever seen.
That's actually when we get the pile driver.
Yeah, and that's Bret's pile driver.
And did you notice how slow to get up Bret is after all that series?
Oh, yeah, he's giving the moves a chance to breathe.
Well, and he drops the leg at one point, right? He
Absolutely.
drops the leg, and then he hesitates, and he grabs that knee, and he's like,
Oh, yeah, he's
shouldn't have just dropped the leg. And then he goes for the pin. Because a lot of times you see this happening in matches. Someone will do a quick arm drag or, something. They'll do a move and then immediately go for the pin. It's a very common thing to do. But Bret takes the time to sell the leg after he does a move that put pressure on it. And that's just something that I wish. And you know what? I think I said the same damn thing about Bret Hart in the Bret Hart-Steve Austin match.
Oh,
I wish everybody would have the ring psychology that Bret Hart had.
No, it's the main thing we're missing from modern wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with that statement. And just to add on to that point, Bret does a superplex to Owen, and they lie there on the mat for several moments.
Oh yeah, because they're too beaten up, they're exhausted.
Right before Bret can get the cover on
He just
Owen.
barely gets one arm on him too. It's like a sloppy pin, and like, oh, what, you surprised? And then Bret gets this sleeper hold on Owen, and they both go into the ropes. Hebner is leaning over the ropes, and then Owen gets a low blow. And once again, just to remind you that he's a bad guy.
That's right. And just in case you were caught up in what a good wrestling match this was, there's your reminder that you need to hate Owen.
To be honest,
with
with the exception of the low blow, like he pulls hair a couple of times, but he's not wrestling heel.
Yeah.
He's trying to out wrestle his brother.
Absolutely. So at that point you think, oh man, Owen's in control because he goes from the low blow, he puts Bret into the sharpshooter, and that's when Bret hits the mat in frustration. But then Bret reverses it into a sharpshooter.
He rolls over
own.
and does his own sharpshooter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is next level like ring psychology he does right there.
It's at that point when I'm watching this match, it's at that point where I think, can this please just not end anytime soon? Right. That's what it feels like. And this is, and in case I wasn't sure of how good this match was, Vince McMahon says for the 30th time, what a matchup.
He just goes, unbelievable.
I'm just annoyed by the whole thing.
Oh yeah, but
Just totally
just as we're kind of all going, man, God, they can go for another 10 minutes and I won't get bored. And then like Bret goes to set up for the victory roll. It's the same way he won the King of the Ring tournament a year earlier. He goes to roll forward. Owen grabs his thighs, sits back, has him in a pin. 1, 2, 3. To everyone's surprise, including Owen, who looks shocked that he won the match. And then we find out the superior Hart brother was Owen Hart.
After all of that, on a night where Bret the Hitman Hart has a WWF championship match, he is bested by his brother.
Owen outsmarted him.
And immediately the first thing Owen does is go up to Bret and give him the middle finger.
Oh, I love that. He gets right in his face, like, ah! And you see him, he's... No, I didn't want to mention it, but you have to mention it. Owen has got a big globe of like saliva like on the corner of his mouth, and he does a promo right afterwards with Todd Pettengill. And I'm like, oh, Owen, just wipe that away and then tell me your promo. Well, let me rephrase that. He does a promo with Todd, $250,000 a year. Pettengill only showed up to pay-per-views.
Worth noting.
6 figures.
I can't.
He only did pay-per-view. 6 figures.
King says right after Owen wins this match, King says he didn't step out, he jumped out of the shadow.
Yeah, this is the coming out party for Owen. Like this match made him, because like the next year is just him and Bret on and off, and they just go on to have like arguably better matches or at least equal quality of matches.
At 20 minutes and 21 seconds, this is one of the longer WrestleMania openers in history.
Oh, absolutely.
There are really only one or two I can think of that are longer. Maybe Triple H, Daniel Bryan was close.
I'm not sure.
It could have been maybe Triple H and Daniel Bryan might have been in like the teen,
I think so.
But it was a longer opening match than you're used to. But at 20 minutes, I was never bored.
No.
It did not feel like 20 minutes.
No, it flew by.
This is one of those matches where, like today, I've seen this match 3, 4, maybe 5 times before today.
Right.
And all day, I was super excited because I got to watch this match when I came home. It's just, it will never not be enjoyable. And the story, as relatable as it is, and actually, it carries on past this match. It's definitely a larger than life story to tell. And hell, I wish we could see this match today. Who are two brothers? Can we get Jimmy and Jay to go at it? Like it's just it's a fun story,
and it's one that's so relatable. Like you guys talked about. I mean, Landon, you said that you're an older brother. Paul, you're a younger brother. I have no brother, so Earl Hebner and I relate in this match. I mean, there are just. It's just a story that it's a tale as old as time.
Well, as long as you don't start selling last match standing apparel in the parking lot after wrestling shows, we're okay.
No promises.
Did you just hint at a possible last match standing T-shirt?
That might be something we could give away maybe at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess I did. I was really referring to the reason why Earl got fired from WWE, but okay. But that was a beautiful segue, sir.
Yeah, see
I
what we
applaud
did there? Thank you very much. So I actually want to get your guys' thoughts on this question because we're going to get to ranking it. We're going to get to all that stuff. But as far as WrestleMania openers go, where does this match stand for you?
Oh, this is one of my favorite. I mean, I've seen every WrestleMania. More often than not, the opening match, like at least the first 10, were blech, boring, sloppy. This was great. I love this.
Well, this is number 10, so don't say the first 10, please.
The first 9.
The first 9. Yeah, I'm trying to remember all of them off the top of my head. There have been, 34 now. But if you were to just ask me point blank, WrestleMania openers go, the only ones that come to my mind are Eddie Ray, WrestleMania 21, and this one. And if I had to, put those two matches up against each other, which I know I will have to do at some point,
Yes.
that's so difficult to answer.
Yeah, it's really hard. When I think about WrestleMania openers, I think there's a slew of ladder matches now.
Yeah.
That
that's right.
there's
From
whether
21 through 27. I think,
whether they're
or
Money in the Bank or we had
openers.
some Intercontinental title ladder matches in the last few years, and those are really good. Those are really good opening contests. So those are up there. They're certainly better than WrestleMania 1 through 9.
Yeah.
I think Triple H, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned that one. That's a good one that sticks out in my head. Edge and Del Rio and Edge's last match that's a fun, enjoyable match to watch. I mean, looking back on it, it's sad, but it's a great match.
What was 2 years ago? We had Seth Rollins and The Miz.
Seth, Miz, and there's a third person in that.
Finn
ring.
Balor in that triple threat.
You're right, it
Okay.
was Finn.
That was good.
That was a really good opener.
Yeah, that was a really good triple threat match.
But I don't think anything touches this one for WrestleMania openers.
Well, I think it is very safe to say that to this point, it was the best opener in WrestleMania history. And here we are now, 24 WrestleManias later, and it could very well still be the best opener in WrestleMania history, which is awesome. It just tells you, we can talk about Bret and how much he is going to be on this list and how much he deserves to be on this list, but I love that we can kind of look at this match as sort of an ode to Owen Hart.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely not the last time we'll be talking about Owen on here. It's just a shame we can't talk about it more. But, he is at a 10 this entire match.
11.
It's the best. He is so... You just believe everything he does.
And it's not the case of Bret carried him to a good match. It's the case of both men know each other so well. Since they are brothers, they have this level of chemistry that you just don't see as much anymore. And tell me one point in this match where they're calling a spot. Because they spend half this match both looking into the camera. And you don't, if you see him talking, it's because Owen is like, he said he tapped, ref. He said he gave up.
Yeah.
I'm better. It's just him going, give up. He's just taunting him.
Everything that happened in this match was natural.
Yeah.
And you can tell that this family was born to wrestle.
Yeah, and at a time in the WWF where Bret Hart is seen to be the golden child, the one that's going to get opportunity after opportunity, there's not a moment in this match where I don't look at Owen and Bret and think they're equals.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I just got to ask, guys, favorite moments in this match? I know there's going to be a lot.
Favorite moments. I really love the end. I really love the winning moment.
Reverses the victory roll.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I just think it's brilliant.
It's a wow moment.
So brilliant.
It's a wow moment.
It is.
Because I think everybody there expected Bret Hart to win that match. How could you not, based on the career that Bret's had up to that point?
And he's got a championship match later. In what world would it make sense for him to lose earlier in the night? But he does, and it's such a wow moment. So if I had to pick favorite moments, either that win or it's the open when Owen Hart taunts right after the clean break from the very first grapple.
Woo!
Yeah, that's excellent. I love how clean the German suplex was and how clean Bret Hart's pile driver was. That's probably my favorite.
Beautiful.
moments.
For me, just the reversal sequences, because they look so smooth and natural. Yeah. Owen gloating at the for no reason whatsoever. Oh God, it just. I don't want to repeat what you guys are saying, but just how smooth, how crisp, how natural everything feels.
They've done this match before.
Oh yeah, but they are the kind of wrestlers that you forget that this is a show
Yeah.
because they do such a good job of selling it.
100%.
Oh, you're not watching the opening contest to WrestleMania 10. You're watching a family feud get settled.
Exactly. And you buy it.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes to the characters those guys are able to play because they're real life characters.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what makes them so good. But this is going to be so tough.
Oh, yeah.
But we have to rank it.
I was trying to postpone this, but we got to.
But it's inevitable. It's inevitable. I didn't forget this week, so we have to do it. And this will be the last time that I read them all before we rank them. But just because we're going to have too many for me to just talk about ad nauseum. So as the list stands currently, before we rank right here, number 1, whether you like it or not, it's Triple H. It's Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. Number 2 is Bret Hart versus Steve Austin. Number 3 is the X Division Championship 4-way double elimination match. Number 4 is Trish versus Lita in the main event of Raw. Match number 5 is Charlotte versus Sasha versus Becky from WrestleMania 32. 6 is Eddie versus Ray from Halloween Havoc. 7 is the Royal Rumble match from 1992. Number 8, Cactus Jack versus Triple H from the Royal Rumble. And number 9, Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon at the King of the Ring. So where does Bret versus Owen rank within these matches?
Okay, so I couldn't sleep last night because I was debating where to put this one. And much like the way I did my process for the last match, I sat down and said, okay, where am I going to put this one? And I figured, okay, I definitely want to make a big statement with this match. I love it, but I don't quite think it's as good as Bret and Austin. It's so close, but it's missing that. It's missing Ken Shamrock. No, seriously. It's missing that extra little bit of drama because as that one was such a personal fight, this one never felt like it was this big personal grudge because it did kind of end with this. It gets extended a year later, but they kind of go the separate ways for a few months. It wasn't like the next night they're attacking each other and brawling.
So actually, I think what adds to that is because Bret Hart had another match in the night, so it didn't. So even though for Owen it felt like this was Owen's big blood feud,
yes,
for Bret it felt like a side feud.
Yeah, it goes in the back burner for a few
ways.
months.
I feel like I see where you're coming from, and I kind of had a similar process, right? So I was thinking, how do we rank this match? You got to look at what's the closest thing on the list and take it from there. Does it go up or down from there? And obviously the closest thing is the other Bret Hart match, Bret Hart, Steve Austin.
But
and the reason why I think that's the closest thing is because, not necessarily because it's a Bret Hart match, I mean that helps, but because it's a highly touted and a highly remembered match on a card where that wasn't the main event.
Exactly,
Right.
And it could have been,
and it overperformed the main
yes.
event. And so that's where I would put it. I would put it right under that match at number 3.
That's exactly where I would put it
because, it just didn't quite have the impact as far as where the careers of both men went after that match. It's something we talked about at length on that episode, and I don't see that happening in this particular match.
Yes.
I think Bret Hart still comes out of this match as Bret Hart.
He does.
Owen definitely has an evolution, but unfortunately, Owen doesn't go much farther in his career.
No. He wins the King of the Ring about 2 months later, but the peak of Owen's career would be this moment, beating Bret at WrestleMania.
I have to agree with that. I mean, he has some excellent European title reigns and Intercontinental title reign, I believe.
Tag match. Yeah, he does. Tag titles with Bulldog.
Yeah, and he has some excellent matches.
Oh, they're
but
amazing.
He never really breaks into the main event scene like Steve Austin did coming out of WrestleMania 13. So for me, it's number 3.
Paul?
Oh, 100% number 3. That's what I was leading into.
I actually had it at 3 as well.
Oh my God!
This
Unanimous.
is going to be a unanimous one, and I have a feeling that this is our last unanimous vote on a ranking.
Very likely.
But as things get longer and more intense, and as the list grows, it will be much much more difficult as we go along. But I think 3 is a perfect spot for this match because it just has all the emotional that you could possibly want.
Oh, absolutely.
At least in terms of a personal rivalry. And when you look at the list, it does make the most sense to put it near Bret and Steve Austin because of the type of rivalry it is and on the stage that it's on and how well it's remembered with fans, right? So I think 3 is perfect. And I am so excited to see what is going to end up going in between those two matches.
Oh, me too.
Between the two Bret Hart matches. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to figure out.
And I'm very confident that my Dangerous Alliance will have a lot of respect for our decision on this match. And I can just say, guys, understand, but when we choose where a match goes, it's not like it is a very subjective thing, but it's not a final decision. At the end, when we're done with this, we're going to do a big retrospect where we break down and go through it. It might be a slog to get through, but we'll get there at some point.
Well, I think we're gonna do our 100 matches on the list.
Absolutely.
That's because we have to build that list, and then the best part and the reason why we want you guys to take part in this ranker as well is that we're going to eventually be pitting these matches against each other.
Oh yes.
And it's not going to be like whatever we rank as the top 32. We're going to have a tournament. Like the finalists, so to speak, for last match standing is going to be a combination of both what we have chosen and what we have ranked and what you have ranked.
Exactly.
On ranker, which is the best way to do it because we in no way think that we are the end all be all with this decision, right? So we want your opinion on this as well. So as of right now, Triple H and Shawn Michaels is the number one match, is the last match standing. But when you combine that with its current ranking on Ranker, that's obviously up in the air as to whether or not it would be a finalist. So, that's coming down the line. Next week, we're going to have another great match for you. I can't wait. Because we've had so many good suggestions lately, but I know you guys have more suggestions to give. I know you do because there's matches that we've thought of that no one's mentioned yet, and we are curious what they are. We want to know because we are so ready to break down your favorite match.
With the first 10 out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, there's 90 more to go. We're so excited to keep taking this journey with you. Thank you so much for all the support, guys.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if you do want to reach out to us about a match suggestion, you can tweet us at LastMatchCast. Rate us, rank us, review us, all that fun stuff. And we are super appreciative for you. Another quick shout out to PW225 for their help with us this week.
And you can hug us at Fallout, that Pro Wrestling 225 show that's going to be happening on Saturday. If you're there, I think this podcast is probably going to come out after it's already over. But if you saw us there, hey, it was fun meeting you. And you can definitely hang out with us over at SmackDown Live August 27th at the River Center. We'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be in the white button-down shirts with the pink WWF.
Oh my God! Don't tell people that.
That's what I'm wearing.
But for those of you that are not in our area, we definitely want you to keep interacting. We want you to stay listening, stay interacting, because we have some really exciting things coming up for this podcast where we want you to get even more involved. So stay in tune for that. But until next time, as always, I'm Spencer.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Landon.
And this is Last Match Standing.